Panthers defeat the Storm 14-6 Sunday night at Core Stadium. I mean, I'd just love to get your thoughts, Smithy. Obviously, you were there at the game. Yep. Thoughts on the game and performances from both sides, mate?
Oh, look, I thought it was a cracking game of footy. I know a lot of people sort of made some comments afterwards about the game, or, not many highlights, not much happening. But I just thought it was a really tough game of football that both sides, they were playing high quality football. And in the end, the team that really made the moments count the most was the Penrith Panthers, and they come away with a strong victory. So I think if I look at it this way, Kempy, so if the Melbourne Storm would have rolled out against any other team in the comp, with all due respect, I think they win by 20 or 30.
Oh, yeah.
That's how well they played, right? But when you're facing this Penrith side, who, if you look back over the entire season, and, you and I spoke about this on the show, and many, many comments from other people in the game as well, looking at Penrith going, oh, geez, they look tired, they look a bit sore, they just don't look like the Penrith of the last couple of years. I'll tell you what, knowing now with, looking at their performance in that grand final, how smart were they in just gearing themselves for that grand final?
Oh,
they all they did, it looked as though they got themselves through the season, as best they could. I know they had some challenges with injuries and whatnot, particularly to key players, but I think what they did was they just set themselves up to be at their peak for that grand final against the Melbourne Storm, and they executed it beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think, don't get me wrong, I can guarantee every single side was really struggling with injuries, but I think if you went into that dressing room, I reckon they're hanging by a thread, a lot of those boys in that Panthers side. It's funny because I've been saying for quite a while now, and you've been saying it as well, that I just haven't seen Penrith get to their best this year. And when I've said it in front of a few footy fans, they've kind of, they kind of nod their head, but they haven't really gone with me. They're kind of like, what are you talking about? Like they're coming second, they're playing good footy. Anyway, we did our season review yesterday. This is where we get all the stats and we look at everything, from top to bottom, comparing years. So this is how much different they were last year. They had less points against, so 312, and they scored substantially more points, 645 last year. So 2023 season, the Panthers scored 645 points, and they had 312 against them. In the 2024 season, they had 580 points scored and 394 against them, which shows you that they did kind of, limp's the wrong word, but for the season, they didn't really hit their straps. They almost just said, look, let's just get to the grand final, and that's where we have our big game.
Yep. Well, mate, hindsight's lovely where you can sort of pick apart their season like that, but looking at it now and the way they performed, I think they always knew, or they had confidence in their game that, if they played their best footy, that they were always going to be a chance of winning this competition. But, I think there were stages, as you mentioned, through the year where they were battling, and they did their best, to get victories. There was a couple of occasions there where it looked like they were gone in certain matches, but they found ways to fight back, and get sort of last ditch efforts to get wins, and keep them in that sort of that vicinity of the top four. And really, at times, it was just the class of a couple of their key position players that got them home. But really, once they had everyone on deck for the grand final on Sunday, and sort of looking at their finals performance, the three matches that they played, they were so good. They were so clinical. And, we spoke about this last week with their performance against Cronulla. I still believe that they really just did what they had to do. It was almost like they were conserving energy for that game on Sunday against Melbourne.
Yeah.
Because they knew Melbourne was in, right? Melbourne v Roosters was the Friday night. And so they'd sort of set themselves, they geared themselves for that rematch from 2020, and they had something to prove. So I reckon they went out on that Saturday night and just, I think the comment I made last week was that they really didn't look like they got out of second gear against the Sharkies. And so by doing that, they were able to conserve a little bit of energy, get through that grand final preparation, which 14 of their 17 players had played in grand finals before. They were well aware of what the week entailed and what it was all about. So I think that gave them a slight advantage over Melbourne with a less experienced side. And then they come out on Sunday night and just exploded.
Yeah.
They just exploded. And, with looking at, like, the finer parts of their game with, like their line speed, their tackle wins, getting behind the ball on kicks and all this sort of stuff, it was just incredible. That they were relentless in all facets of the game.
And their ability to drag teams into their style of footy, it's second to none. Like, I watched that game, and you'd go, if you didn't see the jerseys and the players, you'd be like, is this even the Melbourne Storm playing the Panthers? Because, they didn't really play Melbourne Storm styles of footy. Maybe there might have been 10 minutes where I was like, oh, okay, this is Melbourne footy. But outside of that, it was a game exactly the way Penrith wanted it, which was super grindy, ball in play, dominating through the middle, slowing the ruck down as much as possible, which is good. You're winning the contact by doing that. It was incredible. Who really stood out? Obviously, you've got your Liam Martins, but outside of Liam Martins, who individually really stood out for you for the Penrith Panthers?
Well, I thought Isaiah Yeo was outstanding again. I thought he was super impressive. He got through a mountain of work. I think he finished with about 230-odd running metres. And can be like a lot of his work just goes unnoticed, like the amount of pressure he takes off Cleary and Luai. I thought he was very, very good. He'd had to, surely he was pretty close to getting Clive Churchill, and not saying Liam Martin shouldn't have got it, because I thought he was very good as well. He come up with a couple of really big moments for the Penrith Panthers. That chase on that kick, which led to a try for Paul Alamotti. He come up with a couple of really big tackles defensively as well. So, he was outstanding. Brian To'o, I know he went off the field early, but he was enormous. Like that stint before he got injured, I just thought he was fantastic for Penrith coming off their own line, and that was always going to be his role, right? It wasn't about scoring tries or getting points for Penrith, but his ability to get the ball off their own try line and take some pressure off his middle forwards, I thought was fantastic. Cleary played a very different game, I thought. He kicked well. He laid on that try for Liam Martin. It was a lovely pass, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't one of his standout games. I wouldn't say like he played poorly, but he went about his business, nicely and did his job, and it was a brave effort, wasn't it, with that that shoulder injury that he was taking into that game. So, look, they had strong performers all across the park. One guy I'd love to give a huge rap to would be Sorensen.
Yeah.
He missed 4 weeks, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was it 4 weeks, like his last game a month ago, and then he comes out and just plays the absolute house down. And he looked really, really fit for a guy that hadn't played a single game of footy for quite some time. He hadn't even missed a game. So that was really impressive. I just thought as a whole, like they play such a complete team game. It's not all about one or two players in their team to stand out and carry the side. It's they all work together and they all just get their job done that's needed of them, and that's the result on the weekend. It just, apart from the early try to Harry Grant, it really looked like Melbourne was struggling to get any sort of control of the game.
Yeah. It's really interesting comments on Cleary, because you're right. It's not like he had his typical, 3 try assists and constantly damaging on the edge. But I think, and you can speak more to this much more than myself, but what I find really interesting and exciting about Cleary's game is his ability to identify, it's not really working for me today, so I'm just going to take 30 runs.
Yep.
And he ended up actually running for 212 metres. Yeah, and he was almost like an outside back to a degree. Like, I know he was still 7, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do, mate. No, and that's that's a sign of a quality player, right? Because so the game starts and he recognises, okay, well, they're sending a little bit of extra, heat towards me defensively. They had to, right? Because he in the 2 semi-finals that he played, like, he absolutely destroyed the opposition. With his ball playing and whatnot, but the Storm most certainly would have had a bit of a target on his back to minimise the impact he had on the game. So that he recognised that early, Okay, so he adapts his game to playing a different style. Where, like you said, mate, I think he did. I think he actually finished with the most runs.
Yeah.
Out of any Penrith player.
Yep, more than Dylan Edwards. 29 runs.
Yep, 29 runs, 212 metres. That's that's huge for a half.
The same as Toto.
Yeah, so same as Brian Toto, but like as I said, mate, he just adapted his role to go. Okay, well this is what I have to do for the side tonight. And shift off a little bit of responsibility to others like Luai and Yoda to do the ball playing.
And just quickly before we head to a break, just to speak about Melbourne, and this is, I want to be extremely clear, this is absolutely no excuses. This is not suggesting that, Penrith couldn't have beaten a more experienced side, but purely from a Melbourne perspective, this is a relatively inexperienced side. Just like the Broncos last year, not just like the Broncos because they fell off a cliff this year, but I believe this Melbourne side will be so much better for that first grand final because they came into this final series the second least experienced side in the whole final series, with only the Bulldogs lower than them. Yeah. And as I said, I'm not suggesting that, that's the only reason Penrith beat them. No, Penrith beat them because they were just outstanding. Yeah. But it is something to take away.
You know what it reminded me a lot of, mate, was actually that 2020 grand final, but in reverse. So like Penrith come into that grand final in red hot form, scoring a lot of points against opposition, and then came up against a side, probably not playing that same style of football that they were playing, but just had a bit more experience and at that time of year in that last game.
Yep.
Whereas you look at that the other night, the Storm, they were the ones that were up and running, and they look faster, they look more powerful in the lead-up games. But when push come to shove, it was the experience of the Penrith Panthers players in that week and that particular game that knew how to get the job done.
Harry Grant, 59 tackles, 5 missed, 1 try, 5 runs for 50 metres. I thought, what a captain's knock for Harry Grant, and I think it's an incredible achievement that in his first year of such a high pressure position, that he leads his team to a minor premiership with 3 weeks to go and to a grand final. Obviously disappointing, but I really felt he built as a leader as the year went on. How did you find his performance, mate?
Yeah, look, it was a strong performance, wasn't it? And going off the back of what I was talking about before around the Storm, after that try, sort of looking like they just struggled to sort of get themselves into the game, and that was always hard for Harry, right? Because they struggled for a bit of play the ball speed. Penrith were fantastic with their defensive movements and controlling the ruck area, and that most certainly would have been a part of the game that they knew that they had to win, because that's the way Melbourne love to play. They love to play that upbeat, sort of up-tempo style of footy where, the middle forwards, they just punch in around that ruck and Harry Grant gets to get out, and that's when he brings, the bigger players onto the ball, or he's tipping onto Hughes and Munster, and then all of a sudden there's a bit of chaos happening. So, look, they did a fantastic job to try and minimise, Harry's impact on the game. He got away. He got the first try in. He caught them napping on that try line. Cleary got left on the ground. He went to the short side. Liam Martin come up with a missed tackle, and Harry pounced. So he did everything he could really to try and get his team home, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. But as far as his own performance, he never stopped trying. That's a big effort there. 59 tackles. And minimised opportunities with running the football, only the 5 runs. But look, he was sort of everywhere for his footy side. As far as his leadership is concerned, it's his first year as captain. I think he always had that natural, ability to be a leader for the footy club, and hence why he was selected as captain. But I agree with what you said before, Kemby. I think that he really, as the season went on, I think he felt more and more comfortable having the C next to his name, because being a new thing to you at the start of the year, you sort of don't really understand the extra commitments that you have as a captain. There's a lot more going on around commitments with media and sponsors and talking with administration and coaches and all that sort of stuff, where you could probably lose a little bit of focus on what your main role is as a footy player for the team. But there's no doubt that he grew into that role nicely, and he was one of Melbourne's best performers on the weekend.
And in regards to the Melbourne Storm, I guess in the post-mortem, where do you reckon it went wrong?
Look, man, they didn't. As I said, I didn't feel as though they did a whole heap wrong. It's just they come up against a very, very good side in the Panthers. And yeah, I'll stand by my comment that if Melbourne played any other team in the competition the other night, they beat them by 20 or 30. I truly believe that. But there was just some moments where I think they may have come up with the wrong play at the wrong time. And what they did was, so they did it. They were doing a very good job of staying in this what's called arm wrestle, right? So the ball's going back and forth, and there was long periods of play with the football in play, no stoppages, and I think both teams really enjoy playing that style of footy. But there was just a couple of moments where I think the Storm come up with a couple of wrong plays. I think we got bundled into touch on like play 2 or 3. I think Jerome Hughes took a play 4 kick, a grubber that went into touch towards the end of the game. Just those type of things, mate, where that's the stuff that Penrith want you to do. You know what I mean? They want you to think twice about staying in that grind and then making a sort of decision on the run or off the top of your head, thinking that it's going to result in a big play, but it doesn't. What it does is it ends up being a slightly negative play for your footy side, and it just takes all the pressure off Penrith, heaps it back on yourself, and it sort of takes away the momentum that you've built. That's what Penrith have been so good at. They've been a mile better than every other team at that part of the game is getting into a grind, start building pressure on the opposition, and not letting up until the other team cracks.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this replay right now, and like Alec McDonald comes on, first run of the game,
well,
pumped up.
There's one there, mate. Yeah, exactly.
And it's a
nil
first
all. Touch and drops it. Yeah, so that's those type of plays where I don't know. Like I don't know if did that even happen with any Penrith player on the weekend.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it did.
Yeah. Then you've got Howarth, I think, dropped it early on. Then Pappy kicked out on the full after they scored. I think like little things like that in normal season footy and even prelim finals, you can kind of get away with it. But to win a GF, you almost have to be perfect. Like you look back to last year against the Broncos, the Penrith Panthers made one error. And yeah, so I think as well, if you're making mistakes attacking someone's line, it's a very different mistake to in the middle of the field coming out of your own end. And I think that with the Storm, there's nothing wrong with a few errors, especially if you're a bit more of an attacking side like the Storm are. But I just thought the type of errors they were a little bit uncharacteristic for the Storm where, as I said, like Alan McDonald, just a straight drop. He wouldn't do that. He's been Mr. Reliable all year. But it's a grand final. He's pumped up. He wants to have the biggest run of his life. And that all comes back to experience, I think.
I think the other thing too, mate, that I think has been a little bit underestimated was the absence of Nelson.
Yeah.
So Solomona. I feel as though like that was a huge talking point out of the Roosters prelim final, and then those next few days where he was charged and then went up to Sydney and fought the charge or wanted the downgrade and got suspended. I feel as though like after the ruling was handed down that the suspension would stand and he was going to miss the grand final, that was it. But you just for a guy his size, like he's 6'6", 130 kilos. He's going to leave a huge void in that footy side, and particularly the way they play with. So we spoke about the way Melbourne love to play. They want to play up tempo. They want to play the ball fast, and they want to get Harry Grant out of dummy half. Well, he's their main man to create that momentum. He's the guy that creates a lot of positive opportunities or positive football off of his runs and his play the balls, and just like the sheer size of him, having him in that footy side. It just makes the opposition sort of, question themselves about where they're going to run and the way they're going to tackle him. And these couple of things, all you need is just that little bit of doubt to create that little bit of doubt in the opposition, and it gives you a slight advantage. And as we just spoke about in grand finals, that's all you need. You just need that slight advantage over the opposition, and that may be all it takes to change the result of a game.
Yeah, it's a great.
Sorry. Yeah, I just think, like him not being there. Also, too, mate. Like when you talk about experience,
He's second most experienced.
Second most experienced player in that Melbourne Storm outfit. He'd played 23 finals games.
Yeah.
Like that's a big blow.
Yeah, it's a great point you make. Obviously it's about what he does with the ball. That's like we all get that, but it's actually about what he brings off the ball when he runs a lead or he's out the back of something or he's just in the vicinity. That gives the ball runner just that extra half a second because the defense is going, oh crap, Nelson's in my vision right now. Like whereas when you don't have that and you don't have to really worry about a very specific body type, it does change a lot of the way you play. And so, huge loss. And funnily enough, it's almost like if there was one thing you didn't want to lose as a Melbourne Storm forward pack that isn't necessarily the biggest, most explosive pack, it is a big explosive forward. You'd almost rather
the biggest forward in the comp.
Yeah, whereas like if you were to lose, let's just say, a try-scoring winger, that's almost like, yeah, okay, it's not going to be a high try-scoring game anyway, so maybe we could afford to get away with it, maybe. However, a big forward in the middle. But, look, I still think that the Storm, and as you said, I still think they can hold their head high. They worked their absolute backside off. Just wasn't their night. 4 straight. Now discussion has erupted over the past week about the Panthers and where they sit in the pantheon. Great sides, best clubs of all time. You've got the Dragons, 1956 to 1966. They won 11 straight premierships. You've got the Brisbane Broncos, 92, 93. You've got the Raiders, 89, 90, won 2 in a row. You've got South Sydney, won 4 or 5 premierships. You've got Storm in the late 2000 to 2017. You've obviously got the Eels as well. So they won 3 in a row, I think, in the 80s. So plenty of clubs that have done some pretty incredible things. I would love to get your thoughts, Smithy. Where do you rank them greatest side of all time?
Well, just going off the rugby league that I've watched, right, since I can, far back as I can remember, let's just say 1990. They're the best footy side that I've seen. Have to be. To win 4 consecutive premierships, put yourself in 5 grand finals in a row is hard enough. But to win 4 and to win them against some pretty good opposition, that's pretty special. Look, I can't comment on. Obviously, we can't talk about the Dragons. We didn't see that 11 straight, but I don't think that'll ever be beaten. That was done through mid 50s all the way through the mid 60s, but. Certainly from as far back as I can remember. So the Raiders that won the comp in 1990 and all the way through. Like I was a massive Broncos fan. They were a pretty special side that won back-to-back in 92, 93. Raiders, of course, they went 89, 90 and the 94 premiership also. I was a part of a couple of some good Storm footy sides as well. But this team has just what they've done is unlike any other team for a long, long time. So most certainly in the last 30 years that I've been watching rugby league, they'd have to be the best footy side. Yeah,
I mean, look, obviously, part of a measurement is consistency and their ability to play long seasons. I'm sure you could probably find like one-off teams in a one-off game might be able to beat them, but in regards to just like greatest of all time where longevity is concerned of basically 4 or 5 years in a row. Like, I believe they're the greatest of all time. And look, I totally agree with you. Like, it's very hard for us to comment on the Dragons of, all those years ago because we didn't watch it. The way I see it, though, is kind of like this, is that the rugby league is open to many more people than it was 40, 50 years ago.
Yes.
So the talent pool is way bigger than it was 50 to 60 years ago. And so although I can't definitively say they're a better side, me personally, I just think with those kind of facts on the side of the Penrith Panthers that they're playing in a league that is open to way more people. So the talent pool is it's probably like 4 times what the talent pool was back then.
Well, when the Dragons, this isn't knocking the Dragons at all because I've said before, you got to say they're the greatest team in the game's history, having won 11 in a row. But in that period, they were playing, it was a 10-team comp. You know what I mean? So that backs up what you're talking about as far as the pool of talent that they had to play against. But they had some wonderful players involved in those 11 straight premierships, some legends of the game, some immortals. So, like if you're thinking of one-off matches, right? If you're thinking of one-off matches, maybe there are some certain teams out there that could beat this current Penrith side. So when you're thinking of that, you're probably thinking maybe like the Canberra Raiders of 1990 or 94. They were a special side. Broncos 92, 93, pretty good sides. Maybe a couple of those Storm sides we were talking about, 2017, might be able to knock them off. But as far as achieving what this side has done, 4 in a row, you cannot compare any of those, those sort of more recent sides to them because, well, for the simple fact those other sides haven't done what this Penrith team has done, is in winning 4 comps in a row. You sort of just got to stop and actually think about what you're talking about. Like, it's easy to say, they won 4 comps in a row, but actually sit back and go, how they've actually gone about that and were able to achieve it. It's just incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
And also the way they've done it. Like, they had the biggest comeback in the history of the modern era, maybe even of the game, in a grand final last year against a red-hot Broncos side. That was just, everyone was peaking at the right time for the Broncos, and they still managed to find a way. And then, they go up against a red-hot Storm side this year where you've got a Dally M in 7 and everything's going well, and they still find a way to get the job done. So for me personally, in my opinion, I think they are the greatest rugby league side.
Which, given, Teddy is the incumbent captain of the Kangaroos, like it's not an easy decision to make a change, particularly with the form that Teddy's shown this year. But I think the main, the deciding factor was how Mel just explained it was through the Origin series where Dylan Edwards, New South Wales, Michael Maguire, they opted to make a change there with Dylan Edwards being named as fullback for game 1. He didn't make that game given he had that late injury. Tedesco come in and played, but when he recovered from that injury, Edwards, he come back into the side and they went on to win the Origin series. And, having heard Mel talk about that, this year, coming off the back of, the loss to New Zealand last year in the Pacific Championship, that, he wanted to reward guys that, had been in good form. And he said that, State of Origin was going to have a huge bearing on those selections. So he's obviously opted for, Dylan Edwards, who's been a part of not just the winning New South Wales side this year in State of Origin, but also he's been the fullback of this Penrith team that have won 4 consecutive premierships. So he's obviously doing something, really well in that position. And I think if you look across some of the other selections in certain positions, I think Mao's actually made some decisions there with an eye on the future as well. Given there's a World Cup just around the corner, I think he's made some changes with one eye on the future as well.
Yeah, look, I understand people are a bit surprised at Teddy not being selected because his form has been incredible. However, I just think at some point you've got to move towards a new generation to a degree. And I think that Dylan Edwards, he's got at least another 4 or 5 years left in him. And that's not to suggest that Teddy doesn't play for another, 3 or 4 years. But the chances are, maybe he only does have another 3 or 4 years left in him. Whereas Dylan Edwards, at what point do you, debut the next generation to a degree?
Well, that's exactly right, Kempy, and that's what I was talking about with World Cup just being around the corner, and Mal making some really tough decisions, like leaving James Tedesco out as the incumbent captain would have been very difficult for Mal to make that decision. Have a look at a guy like Daly Cherry Evans as well. That's a big decision too, to leave him out, given he had quite a strong season with the Manly Sea Eagles, was the captain of the Queensland Origin side. For him to not be there, that was a big decision too. He's opted for Mitch Moses, who again, played in that winning New South Wales side as well. So that's what I mean. I think Mal, off the back of a couple of things, off the back of Australia getting beaten comprehensively by the Kiwis last year, and also now being another year closer to the next World Cup, I think he's looking at this as an opportunity to give some younger guys an opportunity to get into this team and also reward them for their efforts this year, and to say, look, this is an opportunity for you to go out and represent the Kangaroos jersey strongly, and if you perform well, there's a chance for you to sort of half get your foot in the door for the next World Cup campaign.
And I think with guys like Teddy especially, because I think he's about 30 years old, that he can come in and do a job. Like, let's say Edwards struggles and doesn't play well in Pacific Championships, and that's highly unlikely, but let's just say he does. Yeah. Teddy's going to come and do a job. So it's kind of like, it's almost, he's there if you need him, you know what I mean? So whereas Edwards, it's good to give him an opportunity. Let's see how he goes for playing for Australia. You've got some text here. Why leave DC for a Hunt? What the hell? That's from Steve. Yeah, I think that's his first. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Well, he wasn't left out for Ben Hunt. Ben Hunt's been chosen as a utility. I think Mal's gone with Mitch Moses as a 7 and Tom Dearden as a 6. I think that's the combination that he'll run with in this first game against Tonga in a couple of weekends' time up in Brisbane. So Ben Hunt, he wasn't. DCE wasn't left out for Ben Hunt to play 7. Ben Hunt will play a role similar, I guess, to what he's played in the past for the Kangaroos and that role that he plays for the Maroons. Like, he's a backup 9, 7, can play 6 if you have to. And if you just want to carry him on the bench or maybe 18th man, he can play in the middle as well. So if you look through that squad, Kempy, there's guys there with a lot of versatility. So if you look at someone like Matt Burton, he's been included because he's playing 5'8" at the moment for the Bulldogs and had a strong season. He can play in the centres. You could throw him back to fullback really if you wanted to as well. So and then you've got guys like you've got Turbo in there. You've got Hamiso in there. Both guys can play fullback if something was to happen to Edwards. You've got guys that Cam Murray at a pinch. You could throw him in the centres. You've got really versatile guys that can be moved around in multiple positions. And I think that's really important when you're playing in a tournament like this one where things can happen with injuries, HIAs, suspensions, and you've got to start to move your squad around.
I've got to say I'm fair play to Tommy Trbojevic and also the Manly Seagulls for
putting his hand up to play.
Oh mate,
massive.
I'm quite shocked that his shoulder was not good in the final series, and maybe he just needed a bit more time to rest. But it just shows you how much he wants to play, how desperate he is to play. Because
Well, mate, I heard Mal talking about Tommy Trbojevic and questions over his shoulder and where he's at, but apparently he was chomping at the bit.
Yeah, wow.
To have the opportunity to play in this Pacific Championship, and obviously they went out a lot earlier than what they wanted to in the final series, and he was hampered by that shoulder. But no, he reckons that Tommy's given everyone the green light and said, look, I'm ready to go, and I'm super keen to get out there and play.
Another big talking point, Kalen Ponga obviously left out after making himself available. I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think I think as a game I think all the drama after the announcement from Kalen Ponga, I think the game needed just to clarify his position and make sure that he understood the actual rules around making announcements like that. And you know what, mate, like I've seen a few people making comments, involved in the game or representing the game, and it was sort of the opinions were actually split down the middle. Some were saying, look, I don't think that's right, and if you're fit, you should be available to play international football. Others are saying, well, he's got every right to, like it's a long season, and if he wants to rest, he can rest. I think as a game, with the rules that are currently in place, they had to say, well, look, that's not up to you. You sign a contract and you should be available. When it comes to selection, though, Mal spoke about this also. I heard his comments talking about, well, he was asked about Tedesco and then backed up with the question about Kalen Ponga. And he just said, look, it was great that Kalen had the conversation with Kalen and he sort of changed his stance on his availability. But when it came to selection, there was guys in front of him that he felt were better placed to represent the Kangaroos. Hence, Dylan Edwards getting the nod as the number one, wearing the number one jersey. And I don't think anyone would argue with that. I don't think anyone would argue with Dylan Edwards getting the nod in front of Kalen Ponga, right? And then also, too, his view on Kalen Ponga is that he is an out-and-out fullback.
Yeah.
So if he selected Kalen Ponga, it was going to be for no other reason than to play fullback.
Yeah.
So in a 3-game series, I think Mal opted for Dylan Edwards to be the number one, and if he stays fit, he'll play all 3 games. If they are to make the final, that's taking that into account. But outside of that, say if he had 1 game off, well, you go back to those guys that he's picked in other positions. So the Hammer, he's picked in the centres. He can play fullback. Tommy Turbo, I believe he'll play in the centres. He can play fullback. So there's guys there that can cover that position and not waste another spot, say, for an extra forward or a utility.
Yeah, like with the KP thing, I've been pretty... Like, I understand where he's coming from. And you as a just an individual person, I think everyone can go, yeah, for sure, super long season, and you nearly were lost to the game and all that. But unfortunately, it just isn't that simple. If it was that simple, that'd be great. But if he comes out and says, oh, I'm not available and focusing on this, it gives power to clubs and potentially even other players. And before you know it, you've got a bunch of players pulling out over the next few years.
Can of worms.
Yeah, and so. I think everyone can empathise with KP for sure. Like, he's had such a tough few years. Absolutely. It's just at some point you've got to think of, okay, but what's the best for the game? And I think, making yourself available if you can is the best thing for the game. I know it's tough, but it is a small price to pay for how much the game has given our plus players. I think it might have been a little bit different if he had have played 10 games for the Roos and he'd been in there for 5-6 years and that maybe, but as a debutant, I think it was should have definitely make himself available. In regards to some other positions, mate, Lindsay Smith, bolter from the Penrith Panthers. How good's that?
Oh, mate, it's outstanding, and it's a reward for how consistent he has been over the last couple of years. He's now won back-to-back premierships with Penrith, and again, I think the thing that Mal was most impressed with is one, his ability to play consistent football, but also his versatility as well. So he can play up front, but he can play in the back row. We've seen that at NRL level, and he's just the type of guy and type of player that I think Mal thought was really important to give an opportunity to. Like it really is reward for his performances, his consistent performances that he's put in at the Panthers. Now, the thing about that too is that. So he comes out of an organisation, he comes out of a system that has high standards every single day, every single training session. So they're the type of guys that you want around the camp in this environment with the Kangaroos.
Yeah.
That's Mal, having been coached by Mal in the Australian side, that's what he talks about a lot. So not so much about the footy and the game plans, and there's time for all that sort of stuff. But when you're having team meetings, he talks about what it means to wear the green and gold jersey, and to be a Kangaroo, and the standards that you need to live and breathe by. And I think that's really the type of guy that Lindsay Smith is. Like he looks like he's very low maintenance as far as what he does day to day with his training and all that sort of stuff. He just gets in and gets his job done, and there's very little fanfare. And what he will do is that he'll come into that organisation or that group of people, being one of the youngest guys. He's only 24, but having played at such a high standard over the last couple of years, he's now rewarded with what is an opportunity to represent his country, and that could be a long career with the Kangaroos. Yeah. A long career. Like if he gets an opportunity to play one test match, and he goes out and plays well, which I strongly believe he will, that could mean he could be in this team for the next, 8 to 10 years.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, just when Penrith, couldn't get any stronger, they've now got more experience in the forward pack. And also they get Isaiah Papali'i next year. But anyway, that hurts from a Broncos. Alrighty, the Kiwi side has been named. Aaron Clark, Phoenix Crossland, Fisher Harris, Hiku, Hughes, Asako, Kinney, McLean, Griffin Neem, Nickel Klukstad, Cody Nikorima, Martin Niokore, Isaiah Papali'i, Jordan Riki, Scotty Scorenson, Joseph Tapine, Leo Thompson, Timoko, Trent Talau, and William Warbrick and White from the Roosters. 8 potential debutants named by Stacey Jones in his first squad as Kiwis head coach. Fish Harris named as captain ahead of his switch to the Warriors next season. He was already captain last time as well. Smithy, what do you reckon of the Kiwi side?
Yeah, strong side, or strong squad. And given they won last year's Pac champs, I think they'll be extremely confident going into this one. Although they've got a few injuries, as does the Kangaroos as well. But this is it's a pretty classy outfit when you're looking at guys like Tarpanay, Nickel Klogstad. You got the Dalian medalist in there, Jerome Hughes, Fisher Harris captaining the side as well. Like it's a very, very good footy side. And like a lot of people last year, when you look at that first hit out against the Kangaroos, where the Kangaroos won and won quite comfortably, you're thinking, well, this is all going to be the Kangaroos. But how impressive were they when they turned it around in New Zealand in that last game? So I think they'll be full of confidence, and they won't want to be the side that just everyone goes, oh well, that was just a one-off. That was just a one-off in 2023 where they got lucky and they played a great game and shut the Kangaroos out. I think they'll want to back it up with a really strong tournament this time around, and it starts week 2. I think they played the Kangaroos in Christchurch, week 2 of the competition. So that's where it all starts.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for them is that they kind of found a way that really suited them, the way to play under Michael Maguire. And it's just going to be interesting to see, like, does Stacey Jones almost try to replicate that? Does he bring his own style? Because I thought the way they played against Australia was, like, unbelievable. Like, genuinely, it almost suited a Kiwi style to a T. Super aggressive, heaps of line speed. And I just wonder whether there'll be tweaks in it that will not catch them by surprise, but go away from what worked so well in last championship. I think that another year of leadership for Fisher Harris is going to be fantastic. You got guys like Kinney, who I can't wait to see him on a bigger stage than in NRL Clubland. Going to be good to see Jerome Hughes. I'm sure he's super disappointed with how the season ended, and he was pretty quiet in the grand final as well. So he would want to bounce back from that. I guess where they really do have a strong base is obviously Tarpanay and Fisher Harris up front. Interesting, Leota is out. It seems like he must have been carrying an injury into the grand final.
Yeah, I think it's his shoulder, mate.
Yeah, okay.
I think his shoulder.
That's crazy. Just, playing at the standard that he played at in the middle with most likely needs a reconstruction.
Yep.
Just shows you how tough these guys are. Interesting, Phoenix Crossland. So he will most likely play 9, you'd have to think.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Aaron Clark's been chucked in there as well, and we know that he's played. Well, he plays mostly, majority of his time in the ruck or 13, but he's played 9 as well. But I reckon the Kiwis, they'll go with Crossland as their number 9, I reckon. And
then you've got Cody Nikodima, who will probably be 6, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting. Casey McLean, young gun for the Panthers. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes because, they're losing Taruva as well next year. They've lost Taylor and May, so they're really going to be leaning on one of those McLean brothers next year, the Panthers. And it's going to be interesting to see how Casey goes for the Kiwis.
So Casey plays centres, isn't he? Is he right centre?
I think he is. He was a left centre, I think.
Left centre, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you look at some of those young guys, like they've got some, the guys that are on debut or making their debut in this squad, like that, there's some pretty impressive young fellas. Like Casey McLean, how old's he? Is he like
18, 19?
Yeah, 18, 19.
Super young.
That's incredible for him to get this opportunity. Keanu Kinney as well. A guy like Will Warbrick, Kempy.
Yeah.
Like only a few years ago, like he's playing rugby. This is only his 3rd season of rugby league, and now he's going to be representing the Kiwis. So, like, I got no doubt that he's going to be starting on. He'll be a starter for him on that wing throughout this entire competition. So, they've got a good mix there of experienced guys, some quality playmakers, but some exciting young guys coming into this squad, particularly some outside backs with very athletic, fast, big. They can cause some issues for Tonga and the Kangaroos.
I'm just trying to think, is this the first time they've ever had a Dally M half heading into a game? Like, I don't think, has a Dally M Kiwi half ever won a Dally M?
Well,
I don't think so.
no. Well, SJ missed out.
Yeah. So Hughes would be the first Kiwi half to win a Dally M.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Because I don't think Stacey did he?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think Stacey got one.
SJ, Benji.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, like talking about styles and will they take much from last year? I think Stacey, as an experience, he's played a lot of Test matches for the Kiwis, understands what they're about and the way they play their football, and he was a part of some really, really, as I said, strong sides. I got no doubt that he'll talk with this group and talk about, hey, what we did last year was really special, and it was something that worked for us. Like, why go away from that? But as the new coach, like I know he'll have his own sort of views as well. But there's really, if you look at New Zealand Rugby League over its lifespan, there hasn't been too many better players that have represented New Zealand than Stacey Jones. And performed at a very high level as well. So, like, I'd assume that he'll have a fair idea of what this squad needs to do to be successful once again this year.
And just getting RTS and Gary Freeman are the only Kiwis to have won the Dally M before Jerome Hughes.
There you go.
Alrighty, now onto the Tongan side name. You've got Alamoti at the back, Vini Fuyaki, Adam Fanua-Blake named captain, Havili, Lehigh Hopewadi, Isaiah Iongi, who is just signed from the Panthers to the Para Eels as a fullback, Elisa Katoa, Isaiah Katoa, Sione Katoa, Felice Kafusi, Keon Kalamatangi, Tolu Kola, Lola Hia, Sonny Luke, Homole Olakawatu, Paseka, Moses Suli, Taumalolo, who's also captain, Daniel Tupou, Satili Tupanoa, and Sua Wong. It's a good squad, bloody hell.
That's a strong looking squad.
Wow.
And they got a bit of flair about them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's and on their day, they could beat both of these sides that they're playing in this competition, both Kangaroos and Kiwis.
Forward pack, holy.
Big aggressive forward pack. They got some classy backs as well, like Izzy Katoa. He is such a good player.
Yeah.
Such a good player, particularly for a young man. Like,
yeah.
He just, he seems as though he's got maturity well beyond his years.
Yep.
With the way, with the way he plays footy. He's obviously got some pretty good guidance from Wayne Bennett with his time with the Dolphins. But this is Tonga actually opened the tournament against the Kangaroos in Brisbane in a fortnight's time. So it'll be a very interesting game with the way it all pans out, with a few changes to the Kangaroos and this strong outfit who have I dare say they'll be pretty keen to go out there and sort of stamp their authority on this competition in game one.
I'm just looking at this forward pack. Like, there's a world where you've got a back row of Olakawatu, Katoa, and Keon Kalamatangi. There is a world where one of those has to come off the bench.
Yeah.
That is insane. And then you look at the front row, Taumalolo, Adam Fanua-Blake, and Paseka.
Yep.
Holy. Satili Tupanoa, Sua Wong, Fini Fuyaki. Jeez Louise, I mean, that is an explosive forward pack. I wonder, heading into this series, it has been quite a disappointing few years for the Tonga. Ever since they had that incredible win over Australia those years back now, they haven't really hit the heights that you would have hoped that they could have.
Yeah, so when was that? Was that 18 or
18,
19?
I think it was 18.
Yeah, over in New Zealand when they had that famous victory. But no, it has been, and I think by memory they did the tour of England last year. Is that right? I think by memory, I think which Samoa is doing this year. So. Look, I've got no doubt that these guys, they'll be hungry to come out and perform against, two quality nations in New Zealand and Australia, and they'll be looking forward to that opportunity to perform well. Like, they'll have a lot of support game one in Brisbane, and then when their second game, I think it's in New Zealand, I believe. I don't know exactly where, but look, they'll have a lot of support there too. So there's no doubt that these guys will be up and about with the way they play. I love watching the style of footy that they play. They play with a lot of flair. They play with a lot of physicality. So you're in for an entertaining game of football. When Tonga's playing. So. We've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, Kempy, like the Pacific nations, how strong they have become. And now it's not. I think back sort of 10 years plus, you looked at these internationals and you thought, well, it's a 2-horse race. It's sort of Kangaroos, and it's New Zealand. Whereas now, like you look at the outfits that are being assembled for Tonga and Samoa in particular at this stage. They are so impressive, and they're some of the best players in our competition. So, yeah, I think they'll fancy himself first up against this Kangaroo side.
Smithy, any plans for the off season, mate?
Oh, not at this stage. No. My just got to get to see the kids out with the school year to finish. Still a bit on chasing those guys around with sport and whatnot. Doesn't end, Kempy.
Mate, so not flying away to any of your private islands or holiday homes?
You've mistaken me for a bloke by the name of Jonathan Thurston. You've got the wrong guy. You've got the wrong guy. Seriously.
Oh, well, that's the best.
What are you up to? Are you doing anything?
No, we're just going to work through it, mate. Going to work through it. Obviously got the little one, and obviously with the new launch. So obviously cash flow wise, you want to try to get as much into the business as you can, so you can grow the business. So I'll continue to work through the off season.
Man, I'll tell you what, the coffee. Big thumbs up.
Thank you, mate.
If you're coffee guys, any of the listeners, coffee drinkers, try Grumpy Coffee. Kempy sent me up like a little, gift starter pack, little gift pack, little thing.
Yep.
Loved it. I love the. Which one did I like the best?
Every day, or the very grumpy?
I like the very grumpy.
Oh, the dark roast.
Yes.
There you go. There you have it.
Get around it,
mate. As always, thank you so much, Smithy. Last show of the year. What a year, mate.
How good. Thanks, Kempy. And thanks all of our listeners. How good. Cool.